this with the NSA.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft.
Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Move very rapidly at any speed or whether any direction it wanted to go. Flag could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Good evening, everybody. This is Smiles Lewis, and welcome to another live edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas. This is the weekly live news roundup of the 501c3 Anomaly Archives, the Scientific Anomaly Institute here in Austin, Texas. And thank you for joining me. Ontological shock. Not the reverse of that. Nothing burger. Historic. All these things and more. You don't have any idea what I'm talking about. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. If you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. Hey, before we get into all that, I just want to say, because sad is sad. I was very sad to hear today that iconic singer Sinead O'Connor passed away at the age of 56. Growing up in high school, she was inspirational to me, very somebody I found amazing, and was trying to speak truth to power, and saddened by her passing. I think the world is a less interesting place without her. I'm sure there are people who would disagree, but there you go. So, yeah. Anomaly Archives is a nonprofit charity community organization headquartered here in Austin, Texas. We preserve thousands of materials, books, magazines, paper files, digital files, videos, audio, everything having to do with anomalous phenomena, particularly unidentified anomalous phenomena, but also the mysteries of the mind, consciousness, parapsychology, the paranormal, ghosts, hauntings, poltergeists, Atlantis, crop circles, the Bermuda Triangle, the Bermuda Trifungal, everything weird, strange, that sort of thing. But you probably already know that. If you don't, you can go to anomalyarchives.org and find out lots more about our organization. There are links to information about our files, our collections, the different donors who have given us their libraries, their files, that sort of thing. And there is a free, infrequent email newsletter. The latest one went out a few days ago and, of course, was promoting this subcommittee hearing, unidentified anomalous phenomena, implications on national security, public safety, and government transparency. Wow. Those GOP guys, they really care, don't they? So, yeah, that's the big thing. That was the big thing. It was, according to one of the UAP whistleblowers, likely to cause ontological shock on a global scale. We'll get to that in just a second, but it's interesting to note that, this is not the first time hearings have happened. It's the latest time in my lifetime. But I was recently reminded by a moderator on a Facebook group and an acquaintance of mine who has done his own efforts to help preserve ufological history, that being a fellow I met online named Drew Williamson. And he posted, where did that go? Where are those images? Yes, here we go. Flying saucer secrecy eyed by House probers. Washington, UP. House investigators asked Pentagon officials today to explain the Defense Department's flip-flop secrecy policies on such matters as flying saucers. The House Government Operations Subcommittee investigating suppression of public information also wanted to know why Defense Department censors allegedly tried to blue pencil material, magazine articles that had nothing to do with military secrets. Joseph Edgerton and Lee Argus, Director and Deputy Director of the Defense Department's Office of Security Review, were called to testify today. Later, Air Force officials faced questioning on how they alternately unclassified, stamped, secret, and then unclassified again a report on flying saucers. Subcommittee counsel John J. Mitchell disclosed at a subcommittee hearing Wednesday what he described as an absurd example of secrecy in the armed forces. So, yes, Drew Williamson posted that online, and I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. This was, as he said, in anticipation of Wednesday's congressional hearings on UAPs, I offer the following article from 1956 from the Ramapo Valley Independent newspaper. That's November 15th, 1956. So nothing new under the sun. Was this new? Was it historic? Again, I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I know that there have been UFO researchers who've spoken in front of many distinguished, august bodies, but this was something different. Or is it? I don't know. We'll get to what there was. But so again, you can go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, and you can there you can find links to our YouTube channel where we archive all of our videos of past events and lectures. You also can follow the link to our online shop where, if you feel so compelled, you can purchase merch with the awesome Red Pill Junkie RPJ Miguel Romero artwork that was created a couple of years ago for the Anomaly Archives. This great poster and these coffee mugs and assorted other wonderful items. And of course, over at the website, you can find the link to the Flipboard, where we archive and aggregate all the many news articles that come across our desk every day. There's just so many. This link to today's hearing by our good friend Klaus Svahn over in Sweden, who works for the Archives for UFO Research and is also a practicing active journalist. If you click on that link and you're in Chrome or whatever browser, it should automatically translate it to English. If not, figure out how to do it because it's worth it. So what other stuff? So yes, this amazing historic event featured a number of alleged whistleblowers, people who are UFO witnesses or have come into contact with people who have made startling claims about crash retrieval programs, reverse engineering programs, that sort of thing that the U.S. government allegedly has in its possession, craft, materials, bodies, all that sort of thing. And of course, we got to see our whistleblowers testifying there, doing their swearing an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And obscured behind one of the people that would be behind Grush was George Knapp, and of course next to him is there Jeremy Corbell, both of whom got called out by Tim Burchett, and who showed read into the record some comments from both of them, and he commented about them being friends. So obviously very chummy with the new UFO UAP crowd. Not new, obviously. George Knapp's been around for a long time, but man, there was so much hype associated with this leading up to it, and I'm not sure. I do feel like it was deserved. I feel like this is a significant event, and while overall I don't feel like there was anything new added other than the lending of an air of legitimacy by having this austere political theater happen. In the lead up to this event, one of the reps, what is her name? Anna Paulina Luna, posted on her Twitter account a bunch of these pictures saying, "Hey, I'm doing my homework." All these different photos of mostly recent UFO, UAP videos and photos. And as an individual I'm not familiar with, but I think his name's Charlie Weiser, maybe that's a pseudonym, annotated this to show that nope, these are all known IFOs. So sorry, bad homework. Not the best evidence there for rolling out in a hearing. None of this was presented. The only evidence presented in this hearing, again, was the testimony of these UFO witnesses, and the whistleblower Dave Grush talking about people he has talked to, Ryan Graves talking about his working on the flight line and with military pilots who have witnessed these things, and talking about how it became so common on an everyday level. And also fighter pilot Fravor, who of course has been made very famous because of his sighting of the, I don't even want to say it, but I have to, the Tic Tac, or as several of the reps on the panel kept calling it, the TikTok, or as he calls it, the flying propane tank. I kind of prefer that personally, but it was interesting, as we recently had reported on, Stephen Greer having his big anniversary event, where I was waxing about how many people just kept tuning in. Numbers of simultaneous viewers just kept going up and up and up. I was pretty staggered at the numbers for today's hearing. I guess I shouldn't be. I was hoping that they would be pretty significant. I think as the lead up to it going live proceeded, before it actually went live, I believe it was up around 100 it was, I forget. I thought I had this written somewhere. But when it went live, there was 140,000 people watching at the maximum that I saw during the stream. And it was just over 2 hours long. Within 5 to 6 hours, it jumped from 530,000 views to 555,000 views. And I haven't checked back, or actually, I guess we could go look and see right now, though haven't reloaded it. I think it's still set on what I last looked at. Anywho, again, what was the significant content here? Not much, really nothing, other than here are some politicians finally giving this subject its due, and I think more or less doing a pretty good job of it. And most of them stressing the bipartisan nature of this, the need for this, how the secrecy just makes worse the already bad political landscape, the divide amongst people who refuse to believe facts and look for alternative facts. So you had the chair of the event, U.S. Representative Glenn Grothman, who gave a brief introduction, and then he introduced some of the other members, Representatives Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Matt Gaetz of Florida, Eric Burleson of Missouri, Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Oh, yeah, and she tweeted out, I think right before, as this was starting, the view from behind her little box there. But she didn't actually participate, so, but clearly she was pumping it out on the socials. So, and also Andrew Ogles of Tennessee, who I believe chimed in at some point. One of the people I thought had the best things to say was ranking member Robert Garcia, who really, again, stressed the need for bipartisan support of this, and that the time has come for disclosure. As I mentioned, Tim Burchett acknowledged several folks, including George Knapp and Jerome Michael Bell. He also referenced this document, which I know some folks have made fun of, but Defense Intelligence Reference Document, Acquisition Threat, Advanced Space Propulsion Based on Vacuum Space-Time Metric Engineering. Yes, as he says, a little light reading. So we'll provide links to all the stuff, and you can go and look at it yourself. Over at the committee repository webpage are all the links to the various statements and testimony of the different witnesses. This one being from Ryan Graves, another being from Dave Grush. Of course, he didn't read this verbatim. They only each gave a brief 5-minute speech, but that then led to the questioning, where back and forth, and there was, of course, as one would expect, a lot of talk of threats and safety, air safety. This is not something new. Many UFO researchers for a long time have been stressing the need for an accountability and assessing of the safety aviation issues involving UFOs, UAP. Another thing that came up, of course, was something that has been often, I think, debunked, and that is this idea of the square inside of a sphere. I think it was Ryan Graves who talked about the pilots reporting this, and Victor, our volunteer technician, had reminded me of what I was immediately remembering from the drive.com, their war zone section from back in 2019. Are some of the UFOs Navy pilots are encountering actually airborne radar reflectors? And in fact, there are patents for something that looks and sounds remarkably similar to this cube inside of a clear sphere. But one has to wonder if these things can stand still in such strong winds as described by the pilot witnesses, etc. How is that possible unless there's some other advanced technology at play here? And then again, what if these are all just some sort of, not all, but what if some of what's being shown to pilots like Fravor and others is some kind of advanced technology that maybe does use stuff reverse engineered from the true UFO phenomena? Maybe. Meanwhile, this journalist Michael Schellenberger and a couple of other writers have written this article. Alleged death threats against UFO witnesses should make UAPs a concern for believers and skeptics alike. Now, none of these individuals were present. There were just those three witnesses, whistleblowers that we were talking about. But this fellow in the middle there, Michael Herrera, he's the whistleblower that was featured among several of the witnesses at Stephen Greer's testimony a few weeks back, a month ago. And this article is just talking about, again, how many threats there have been made against UFO witnesses and people trying to break the silence on the UFO subject, especially those in the military, but also civilians. And I haven't had the chance to digest all of this, especially this part, 75 years of alleged death threats. But this was actually touched upon in the hearing, and multiple times different panelists asked these witnesses if they'd been threatened. And of course, that's what brought Grush to this situation, was his having tried to be a whistleblower about what he was hearing from other military personnel about these secret projects, these special access programs, and what was not being disclosed to Congress as is supposed to happen when these kind of investigations go on. And instead, he is retaliated against in various ways, and so are so many other people, which he repeated the refrain over and over again throughout the proceedings that I can't go into this in an open public forum, but in a SCIF where we can have guaranteed privacy, we will go into that. So, I just realized something. So, the other, but then of course here we see Commander Fravor, the pilot that saw the Tic Tac, who he was also asked, and of course he's like, no, actually, I've been treated very well, and so have my comrades who have come forward. So there was this distinct dichotomy there between people who are saying that yes, we've been threatened, and those who are saying no, nothing. Like they're kind of the chosen ones almost. Makes one wonder, but we shall see. Again, as expected, no real significant information here. And while that is disappointing, perhaps this is just the beginning. But is it a distraction? Is it a distraction from more pressing issues? But honestly, this is why the subject is my area of interest. It is always felt to me to be the most important topic of humanity. And why do I think that? Well, it's to me as simple as there is the issue of, are there other intelligent beings out there? But it to me is also more about this phenomena seems to almost be trying to make us think outside the box, to use that tired phrase. So on the subject of that other whistleblower, Michael Herrera, we have a page where you can find some links to interviews with him, his footage from the National Press Club event that Dr. Greer put out. I'm sure many of you were like, is that even worth looking at? It's interesting, but it does go in some very strange directions. Michael Herrera basically is attesting to seeing what he suspects were reverse engineered type UFO craft that were being used for some kind of military smuggling operation. He assumed guns or something, but somebody at the Stephen Greer event apparently has now convinced him that no, it's human trafficking that was going on with the craft that he saw. And that's why there's all these death threats. But you can find links to that over there. Yeah, I don't know what much else to say about this other than I hope it's the beginning of something more. And do I still think that it's possible that this is a psyop? Yeah, I do. I can't ever let that go. But I do think that there's a lot of legitimate interest here by various folks who are just pursuing the important information that we all want to know, and hopefully something positive will come of this. I do think that it seems like there is a lessening of the laughter curtain, and again, an airing of more legitimacy to this subject matter. Coming up this weekend, I think registrations are about to close, so if you haven't bought your tickets for the online event, the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, are having their annual event. They've been doing some very good in-person hybrid event, and this year's is exclusively online. But Advancing the Scientific Study of UAP is this weekend, July 29th and 30th, and it's a great lineup of folks that you can see. It looks like it's about $65 to see the 2-day event. And of course, they had the comment. I got an email from them as a registered conference goer from their conference lead and SCU board officer, Richard Hoffman, who says, "I hope you had the opportunity to catch the congressional hearing today. What a historic session, and finally credibly treated. The 3 witnesses were excellent. Ryan Graves was our keynote last year, and in attendance at that conference was David Grush. We are now hopeful that the needed actions mentioned today become reality and that this finally can lead to some answers for all of us." Well, I couldn't agree more. Well, next week, we are going to start a new series where we partner with folks from different who have different groups online, including my good friends Kurt Collins and Chris Rutkowski, who have they moderate the UFO updates list on Facebook. This is a Facebook group that is the continuation of one started years ago, decades ago, by a Canadian. Chris Rutkowski is Canadian. The Canadian who started UFO updates many, many years ago was Errol Bruce Knapp, who was a pirate radio fellow of some note. He used to run this fantastic email list And the website for that mailing list was maintained by the fellow we were mentioning last week, Glenn Campbell, the desert rat himself, who was the popularizer of Area 51 and one of its greatest researchers. But yeah, we're going to have, that's Kurt Collins there on the left and Chris Rutkowski on the right. They're going to be our guest co-hosts for this and probably some other shows. And we're hoping this is going to be a regular feature where we have different guests. And hopefully, if we can get the technology to work right, they're going to be streaming it through the UFO Updates Facebook group. And that has a few thousand members, I think over 5,000 members. And hopefully that'll give us the chance to engage with that membership. Errol Bruce Knapp passed away years ago, but he used to have his own radio show called Strange Days Indeed. And he just provided such a service with the UFO Updates list. And I'm so glad that it's continued in some shape or form. So folks are still trying to carry the torch of good old UFO updates. Well, that is probably going to be it. But like I said, you can go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, and find out more about our nonprofit. You can find out all sorts of links to the Flipboard where we aggregate all the news links. There's so many that we always have and don't get the chance to get to. But like just right off the top of the feed right now is a link to the Edge Science issue number 53. This is a great free publication where you can access a variety of information on parapsychology articles. Some of the articles that we've mentioned, the death threats against UFO witnesses over at Public Substack are available. Lots and lots of articles, of course, talking about the current state with this hearing. Oh, and this nice little gem, Monsters from the Id. Are we creating our own demons? It's from a Reverend Kat Carroll, and this is not a new idea, but it may have relevance to the nature of this weird phenomena that we call UFOs, or some of you have given up and call it UAP, but whatever. There's also this great link over to archive.org where you can see a lot of great old pulp examples of classic flying saucer imagery artwork from before the modern UFO wave began. And this article actually was pretty good. Why might UFO intelligence's hoax, quote unquote, shooting star displays? Reflections on the virtual experience model. This writer, Joseph Burks, has this idea of the VEM virtual experience model, which is very much a continuation of the idea expressed by abduction researcher Carla Turner, that I think she just called them straight up VR scenarios, virtual reality experiences. And this idea has informed my ideas as well of a virtual transpersonal interspecies, interstellar, interdimensional, intertemporal communications channel. Yeah, it's a pretty wild idea, but I think it makes the most sense for some stuff, not for everything. Well, again, you can go to our website. You can go to follow the links there to our shop, and there you can buy merch. And we would love for you to support us through that, or just go to the website, make a donation. We'd appreciate it. Thank you for another great show, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with our guest co-hosts, Chris Rutkowski and Kurt Collins. Good night.
Behold the Anomaly Archives poster. Gaze upon its magnificence. But please keep it down, for there is Shashi the alien. Do not be alarmed. But who is that mysterious MIB digging deep into the files? Steady your gaze. Patty the cryptid is elusive, and to catch even a faint glimpse is quite an achievement. Thrill at the horror of a living challenged apparition who has stopped by to study a forgotten tome. Elsewhere, scattered about, the keen eye will observe artifacts of sacred and forgotten lore. After a long gaze one may grow envious and wish to possess a physical manifestation of this grand visage. What once seemed like an insurmountable expedition is now made into an effortless side quest. For now, at the Archives shop, one can find this thrilling representation available for acquisition, where, among the usual wares, denizens of this fair land will find this and other scrolls, exquisite apparel, hot beverage drinking vessels, and a plethora of other treasures. Enough to satisfy the desires of any who seek the most elusive emotion of all, fulfillment